At that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard the report about Jesus and said to his servants,
"This is John the Baptist. He is risen from the dead, and therefore these powers are at work in him."
For Herod had laid hold of John and bound him and put him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, because John had said to him,
"It is not lawful for you to have her."
And although he wanted to put him to death, he feared the multitude, because they counted him as a prophet. But when Herod's birthday was celebrated, the daughter of Herodias danced before them and pleased Herod. Therefore he promised with an oath to give her whatever she might ask. So she, having been prompted by her mother, said,
"Give me John the Baptist's head here on a platter."
And the king was sorry. Nevertheless, because of the oaths and because of those who sat with him, he commanded it to be given to her. So he sent and had John beheaded in prison. And his head was brought on a platter and given to the girl, and she brought it to her mother. Then his disciples came and took away the body and buried it, and went and told Jesus.
Now King Herod heard of him, for his name had become well known.
"John the Baptist is risen from the dead, and therefore these powers are at work in him."
Others said,
"It is Elijah."
"It is the prophet, or like one of the prophets."
But when Herod heard, he said,
"This is John, whom I beheaded. He has been raised from the dead."
For Herod himself had sent and laid hold of John, and bound him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, for he had married her, because John had said to Herod,
"It is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife."
Therefore Herodias held it against him, and wanted to kill him, but she could not. For Herod feared John, knowing that he was a just and holy man, and he protected him. And when he heard him, he did many things, and heard him gladly. Then an opportune day came when Herod, on his birthday, gave a feast for his nobles, the high officers, and the chief men of Galilee. And when Herodias' daughter herself came in and danced, and pleased Herod and those who sat with him,
"Ask me whatever you want, and I will give it to you. Whatever you ask me, I will give you, up to half of my kingdom."
so she went out and said to her mother,
"What shall I ask?"
"The head of John the Baptist."
Immediately she came in with haste to the king and asked,
"I want you to give me at once the head of John the Baptist on a platter."
And the king was exceedingly sorry. Yet, because of the oaths and because of those who sat with him, he did not want to refuse her. Immediately, the king sent an executioner and commanded his head to be brought. And he went and beheaded him in prison, brought his head on a platter, and gave it to the girl. And the girl gave it to her mother. When his disciples heard of it, they came and took away his corpse and laid it in a tomb.
Now Herod the Tetrarch heard of all that was done by him, and he was perplexed, because it was said by some that John had risen from the dead, and by some that Elijah had appeared, and by others that one of the old prophets had risen again.
"John I have beheaded, but who is this of whom I hear such things?"
So he sought to see him.